Hello friend, how are you doing today? My name is Mary, this is Happilyeveresch, and today I want to chat about the 10 books that I am really excited to read in 2021. So my 2021 TBR, if you will. Pulled all of these books off my shelves, and I really want to make a concerted effort to read all of them. I have been sitting here kind of flipping through and reading the synopses of the books and the first lines, and I'm really excited about all of them. So I really hope that I tick them all off my list. I own them, so they're here in my home with me. So let's just chat. What are the books that I hope to read? There's a mix of like modern classics and backlists, some newer releases, so let's just get into it. The first book will also help me read towards my goal of reading more of this author, and it's Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward. This won the National Book Award, so that's definitely exciting, and I loved Jesmyn Ward's book Sing and Buried Sing, and I just want to read more from her. I think she deals with families a lot in her stories, looking at families and place in a really interesting way. This is also set in Mississippi, and there is a hurricane that is coming to their town, and this family is kind of like, what do they do? I think it's just kind of that moment of the hurricane coming and then what this family is going to do. About family loyalty, it's about like siblings looking out for one another. It sounds fascinating, and I just think that Jesmyn Ward is such a phenomenal writer. I am going to read you the first line of all of these books. April over at Getting Hugga With It has been doing that in her hauls, and I find it so nice just to get like a little taste of the writing style, and I've already read all of these first sentences and they really intrigued me to pick up the books, so I hope they interest you as well. So the first sentence for Salvage the Bones is, China's turned on herself. Interesting. Who's China? What's she doing? So yes, I'm very excited to read Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward, and maybe if I read this one, I'll get to some other of her work as well. That would be awesome. Next, we have Dominicana by Angie Cruz. I think that this book is so stark and stunning. I could just look at it all day. I think whoever designed this did a fabulous job. Dominicana follows a young girl who grew up in the Dominican, but is married very young and brought to America by her husband, and she's very much drawn to do this because she knows that she can kind of help the rest of her family immigrate if she gets to America. So I think she's living in New York with her husband. There's quite a big age gap between the two of them, and she's very lonely, and I think she has an opportunity to run away, but doesn't take it, and it's kind of what is she willing to do to help her family? Like, what is willing to give up in her own life? So yeah, I think it's like a really big character study of her, explores her immigrant experience, and it sounds fabulous. I can't wait to read it. The first line of this one is super intriguing, so let's go ahead and share it. The first time Juan Ruiz proposes, I'm 11 years old, skinny and flat-chested. Super intriguing, like what is going on, like why are you proposing to this child? Yeah, definitely is an intriguing first line for sure. Next on my pile, I have Behold the Dreamers by Mbolu Mbui. Again, this one I think deals with the immigrant experience. We're following a man, Jinde, who immigrates to America to seek a better life for his wife and his child. He hired as a chauffeur for a very wealthy, business-savvy businessman in New York City, and he's like so excited to like have this opportunity and this job, but I think as he works, like the facade kind of crumbles, and he sees like corruption and deeper issues, and I think there's kind of like, what does he do? This one also had a really intriguing first line, and I'm really excited to read this book. So, chapter 1. He'd never been asked to wear a suit to a job interview. I went on and kind of read the whole first chapter too, and I think I'm really gonna like her writing. Excited to read this one for sure. And I know that a lot of people have really enjoyed it. Next we have a middle grade, or it might be like young YA. This is an author that I've read before. It's Renee Watson's Some Places More Than Others. In this book we follow our main character who is finally allowed to go to Harlem to visit her dad's family. And she's so excited for this trip, so excited to like make those connections with her family, and I think nothing kind of really lives up to like what happened in her mind, but I think over time she comes to find deep love for this place and her family. I read, what was it called? Piecing Me Together a couple years ago and thought that it was a fabulous YA book, so I'm really excited to get to some more of Renee Watson's work. And let's read that first line. New York City is no place for a little girl, Mom says. Very intriguing. So again, killing it with the covers. So pretty. And this is a short little guy, so I should hopefully zoom right through it. A book I'm so excited about, a very new release, is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. Maggie O'Farrell had such a good year with this book. It was so well received. This is historical fiction, kind of a rethinking or imagining of Shakespeare and his wife's life, and in particular looking at the loss of his young son and how grief affects their family, but also how this loss of the son has like basically propelled Shakespeare into writing Hamlet, which is obviously one of the most famous plays in the world. So I've just heard that this is a fabulous exploration of grief, and I've read some of Maggie O'Farrell's other works and really loved it, so I'm hoping that I connect with this one as much as so many other people have this year, or I guess in 2020. So the first line is, "A boy is coming down a flight of stairs." All right, I'm excited to find out more Maggie O'Farrell. Another book I think is probably going to be getting maybe a little uptick in hype because of the show that's coming out is News of the World by Paulette Giles. This is another slim book, but it is also historical fiction following our main character who travels around reading the newspaper to people who are just desperate to hear news of the world. Our protagonist is offered money to reunite a young orphan with her relatives. I think this just follows their journey of him bringing her to her family and like the danger that this travel is, but also just like their dynamics and their relationship. This book has gotten a lot of praise and I really hope I love it. So let's read that first line. Captain Kidd laid out the Boston Morning Journal on the lectern and began to read from the article on the 15th Amendment. That is an intriguing first line, so very much sets up the story. So I'm really excited to read this one. And then if I enjoy it, maybe watch the TV show. Next we have The Veins of the Ocean by Patricia Engel. This follows a woman whose brother has been sentenced to death due to a very horrific crime that he's committed. Our main character, Raina, blames herself in a lot of ways, feels a lot of guilt surrounding this crime that her brother has committed, kind of moves away on her own to seek like solitude and to kind of not be like recognized and tied to her brother. And she meets a man who is from Cuba, and he's waiting on his children to come to America to be reunited with them, and it's about their relationship. This also has a very intriguing first line, so let's just read it. When he found out his wife was unfaithful, Hector Castillo told his son to get in the car because they were going fishing. I definitely am like, yes, let's read more. What's going to happen? I've also heard really good things about this one, and it was a Book of the Month Club pick in 2016, so I tend to really enjoy Book of the Month Club picks, so we'll see how I get on with this one. Next we have a modern classic, and that is Crossing to Safety by Wallace Stegner. I don't know a lot about this book other than it's about two people and their life. Did I sell you on it? The back says it is a work of quiet majesty, deep compassion, and powerful insight into the alchemy of friendship and marriage. And honestly, that's really all I need to know. I think he writes quiet literary fiction. That's my jam. And I'm excited to give it a try. So first line. Floating upward through a confusion of dreams and memory, curving like a trout through the rings of previous risings, I surface. That's some pretty writing. So I can't wait to read this. I've had Wallace Stegner as like someone who I need to read for a while, and I'm glad that this will be my first one. A book that has been sitting on my shelf for way too long is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is YA fantasy. When it came out, it was a huge book, and I think it's kind of gotten a little resurgence in discussion on BookTube because the last book, or the next book in this series, has come out, and I'm super interested in it. Strong female protagonist who has to protect her brother by becoming a spy for like the state. I don't know. It sounds fascinating, and I need to get to it. I've owned it for so long. My sisters read it and loved it, and I'm ready. Okay, so first line. My big brother reaches home in the dark, hours before dawn, when even ghosts take their rest. I'm ready for the ride, Sabaa Tahir. And last but certainly not least, I haven't picked a specific book, but it's another author that I want to get to, and that is Anne Tyler. I read a book a couple years ago by Anne Tyler and really enjoyed it, and it's just about time that I get to some more. So a couple that are on my radar, A Spool of Blue Thread, and also I thrifted recently Redhead on the Side of the Road. So those are her two newest releases, but I own lots of Anne Tyler, so I could get to some of her backlist, but I want to read something by her. So I'd love to know if you have any suggestions, any thoughts on where to go next. The book that I read by her was Dinner at the Homesick Restaurant, and I really enjoyed it. So definitely let me know if you've read any Anne Tyler, what your suggestions or recommendations would be, because I own quite a stack, so it might be on my pile. All right, those are the 10 books I hope to read in 2021. I'd love to know, what are your 2021 hopefuls? Hoping these are all 4 or 5-star reads for me. Here's to hoping you read lots of good books in 2021. I'll talk to you later. Bye.